June 22nd to June 24th, 2015. What a waste of time that was in our country. Why? Because all we talked about was the stupid Confederate flag. No, excuse me, to my Tennessee friends, I don't mean that the flag is stupid. I mean the fact that we talked about it for so long was stupid. And I took the bait. I'll admit it, on my radio show for 3 days, we talked about nothing but the Confederate flag. And sure, whatever, right? It's good to talk about. Maybe we should have taken it down from the State House, whatever. But when you compare that, like what we did talk about, to what we should have been talking about, it was an absolute disgrace. On June 24th, I remember at the end of the show thinking, the 9 people who were murdered in that church, they're praising God. I think they're looking down on us saying, really? This? Right? I'm murdered while praising God, and the national conversation is about the Confederate flag? This is our legacy? So I asked for a redo on our show because I was frustrated because it felt like someone else was writing our history for us those 3 days. And I refused to believe that that was our story at that time. So I asked for permission from our audience to do a show talking about what we should have been talking about for those 3 days. And that's when I came across the Arthur Ravenel Jr. Bridge. I've never heard of it. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing it right because I've never heard anyone actually say it out loud. So a housewife in Charleston thought it would be nice if her and a few of her friends met on the bridge and walked across in memory of the 9 people who were killed. So she made a Facebook event. The afternoon came, and sure enough, a few of her friends did show up. 15,000 of them. Half met on one side, half met on the other, led by family members of the victims. Each side marched across the bridge and met in the middle. Look at these pictures right here. Why wasn't this the news nonstop those 3 days? That murderer, he wanted a race war, and instead he started a movement where people of all races are praying on a bridge. It's amazing, you know. We keep hearing that we're a racist country. If we were a white supremacist nation, by the way, keep an ear out for that word. You're not going to hear anything more about white privilege. You will, but not as much. Instead, we're now a white supremacist nation.
We are a white supremacist society. We are a society that on its face values white people, what they do, and their body, their integrity, more than people of color.
The problem is we can't eliminate these types of incidents if we don't get at the source of the problem. And the source isn't individual crazy people. The source of this is white supremacy.
If we're a white supremacist nation, why are there white people embracing each other and crying for 9 black people who were murdered? They should be celebrating, right? The way MSNBC and the race baiters make it seem. There's so many wonderful comments on Twitter and Instagram and all the rest. I love this on Vine. It says, "This city has come together in the greatest, most unimaginable way. Stay beautiful, Charleston." And we would all know about this across the entire country. But instead, for 3 days in June, someone said we needed to talk about the Confederate flag. Because whoever decided that we should talk about the Confederate flag, they looked to Charleston expecting riots. And they looked at Charleston expecting protests. And they looked at Charleston expecting hatred to fill the city. And instead, they got prayer circles. And they got singing gospel songs in the street. And they got incredible forgiveness. Forgiveness that to the untrained ear is just baffling. So instead they went to the Confederate flag because it divides, which is all certain people want, to divide. The white supremacist nation, that's a lie. It's an ugly, insidious lie, and we all need to kill it. Listen to this man. He was at the gathering spot for the start of the march on one side of the bridge. He was introduced by the local chief of police. Check it out.
It's not black lives that matter anymore. All lives matter. And wherever you are, wherever you're hiding, whether it be behind a keyboard or a cell phone or in some dark cave somewhere, spewing your hatred, trying to keep us divided, we are the United States of America, one country, indivisible, unto God.
Tell you, I'd love to hear that message more often in America. MLK, his I Have a Dream speech. We all know the part about, black boy, black girl playing together on the playground, judging by the content of your character, not the color of your skin. We all know that part. But how about the next line in that speech?
I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, And every hill and mountain shall be made low, the rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together.
That right there was personified perfectly on that bridge in Charleston the Sunday after the murders. Not only that part, but also little white boy, little black girl holding hands. That bridge, MLK's dream personified. And while the media didn't want to report on it, Charleston, we heard you. I'm out here in San Diego. It took us a few days, but we heard you loud and clear. So thank you, Charleston, for setting the standard for what it means to love, for setting the standard on what it means to forgive, and for setting the standard for the entire country on what it means to be unified. Because on that bridge, it's called the Unity Bridge now. So the other day when I was thinking the 9 people, those 9 who were killed, were looking down on us for those 3 days in June, thinking, really? I was murdered in church praising God, and all we got was all this, you can't buy the Confederate flag on eBay anymore. That's our legacy. What they were really doing was looking down on that bridge in Charleston and seeing everyone of all races holding hands and singing and praying. And they were saying, yes, this is it. More of this.